Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. It's been a while, so if you no longer remember, my name is Alina, I'm an author and I post videos about books and writing. It's been a while since I published an actual video. I've been mostly doing live streams and the likes, and today the topic we're discussing is a bit of a tricky one. If you've seen the title and the thumbnail, you already know we're talking about 9 AuthorTube misconceptions and how they should be dispelled. It's a list of misconceptions that I came up with after watching a lot of videos on AuthorTube, the problem this community is facing, a lot of content that I consumed over the past close to 2 years, and I think this list is a better way to approach the situation from my point of view, because when I tried to do it as a response or a way of adding in my point of view to the others' ideas, I kind of came off a bit aggressive and salty, and I don't want to do that. I'm passionate about this, and I want to frame it in a way that's helpful and uplifting and welcomes people into the community. So this is the first in a series of 3 videos that all revolve around AuthorTube issues and the right type of advice you should be looking for, and how to research things, and how to self-publish and why, things like that. So for this first video, I'm going to stick to misconceptions and dispel them for you. This is in a way a response to all the videos that Jenna Streety and Shailene Wright and Alexa Dunn and my friend Sarah Scharnweber did on the topic, but it's not a way to debunk them, it's just my perspective on everything, because I'm a rare breed on AuthorTube. I'm both a hybrid author and not American. So what a hybrid author means is that I've worked with a publisher, albeit a small publisher, not a big 5 publisher, I'd like to say that off the bat. And I also self-published, and I decided to stick mostly to self-publishing. I'm not saying I will never publish traditionally and go through the whole thing of sending books to a publisher. I will never go through an agent because I have my own reasons. I prefer to work with smaller publishers that I can send directly to. I have my own system where I first contribute to an anthology and see how they work with me on a short story, and if that goes okay and I enjoy working with them, I'll consider submitting more, like a full novel or a novella or something like that. So other than that, I'm born and raised in Romania. Although I've traveled a lot, I've only lived here, unless you count a month or 2 spent in the same time abroad, which didn't involve traveling as a vacation. And I think I have a very different perspective because I was already a published author and had quite a few books under my belt when I started AuthorTube. Even the first time when I did it, like years ago, and then I took a break, even then I had already published 2 or 3 books, I think. I can't remember exactly. So I did not start building an AuthorTube platform and then published. It was the other way around. I decided to integrate AuthorTube in my bigger platform long after publishing, and it's always been my fun platform. It's the place where I enjoy doing stuff the most because I can have fun with it. So let's get started with the misconceptions and discuss them one by one. The first misconception, and I think this is the one that leads to most of the others, is that AuthorTube is representative for the writing and author community at large. I think that's wrong on so many levels, because AuthorTube is very small. I think if I'm being extremely optimistic, there may be a few thousand people involved, if we count people who write as a hobby or do it part-time or are also published or are from other countries, other continents, in languages other than English. Maybe then we get to a couple of thousand, maybe more. And I'm considering part of AuthorTube even those who don't even know that AuthorTube exists. They're just authors on YouTube. So that said, I am in a group of published authors. There are 26,000 people in that group alone. 10 times more than on AuthorTube, and I still wouldn't consider that to be enough to draw conclusion about the author and writer community at large. And because of this misconception that this is how the writing community looks like, and that AuthorTube represents it with any level of fidelity, there are a lot of other misconceptions that people reach. So remember, AuthorTube is really small. For anything, just look outside of it. Look on Facebook, look on websites, look, I don't know, even on Instagram, I think there are more authors. So Twitter is great. You'll realize just how many there are fast. So keep that in mind whenever you want to draw a conclusion about writing or being an author based on AuthorTube alone. The second misconception is that there's this huge rift between self-publishing and traditional publishing. And while I've seen some low-key dissing on AuthorTube several times, while I've seen people giving opinions on trad or self-pub without having any clue, I've never had the same feeling outside of AuthorTube. I write a lot of LGBT fiction and romance, so I've been in this larger community that's still niche enough so that I can compare it with AuthorTube. And there are traditionally published authors, hybrid authors, and indie authors in this community, and we never have a problem with that. We never get in each other's faces about which is the right way and which is the wrong way. That's never happening. We're a community and we try to make it better for everyone involved, self-published or traditionally published. We really don't care. Again, it's a matter of scale. I think there are hundreds of thousands of books in the LGBT fiction category. And by the way, there are even Harlequin published authors within this community. So we have everything from traditionally huge publisher to big independent publisher to small independent publisher. So everything is in there, and there are also the perfectly indie self-published authors. So never ran into that. Actually, most people will be very honest about everything, and that helps a lot. The third misconception, which is one that bothers me a lot, and I've seen this both on AuthorTube and on BookTube, any sort of criticism is negativity or even hate. This is so wrong. Like, if you can't take criticism, you have a problem first, because you will get criticism, especially as an author. Also, you need that criticism. And if someone says what you're doing is not okay for reason X, Y, Z, maybe you should consider that before rushing to say, oh, it's just negativity, which annoys me. And I've seen this on BookTube. People saying they get hate comments or negative comments because people just have a different opinion, which they support with arguments. They take the time to explain their arguments and their position, and then the person getting this comment says, oh, that's just a hate comment. It's not a hate comment. I've seen hate comments, not much on AuthorTube. Just go to any beauty guru's channel and pick any video and you'll see what hate comments look like. Especially if you pick a boy in makeup, you'll see it fast. So there's not much hate in the comments on the AuthorTube side of things. There is criticism, there is some negativity. I'm not saying it's not, but not all criticism equals negativity and hate. We need to get past that. The next misconception is that AuthorTube is the best resource for you to find your writing, marketing, or sales advice. And I think this is freaking wrong. You can get good tips and great ideas, but there are a lot more valid sources outside of AuthorTube, and I even include YouTube resources here, because there are people like Joanna Penn or Chris Fox or Derek Murphy who are on YouTube who can give you great advice in terms of selling your books or publishing your books or writing or anything you want, creating covers and building an author career. And these people are not really included in the AuthorTube community because YouTube is like a secondary platform to them. They just post content and they interact with people who comment on their stuff and that's it, because they don't have time for anything else. And personally, I prefer getting sales advice or career advice from someone like Chris Fox, who's very open about how much money they make with their books, than someone who says they're doing great but is never open about numbers. This is a big thing for me. I need legitimate resources, and for that I need people to prove they know what they're doing. If someone teaches me about how to create great covers for my books that look really nice, are genre appropriate and drive sales, I want to see their work. I want to see their cover, see their tests, see how they improved. If someone tells me they'll help me write my book, publish it, and make money off it, I want to know they are able to make money off it. And if they're giving me writing advice, I will judge them by how they write. And I'm not saying they should take all of their advice. I'm saying their work should be quality writing. If I think their writing is shitty, I'm not going to buy into their advice, because it's just a bit of a dissonance. Of course, if their advice is valid and they're just crappy at taking it, I will listen. I will take it in and think about it and compare it with other advice I've seen, and then make a decision based on that. And that should go for any piece of advice you want. First of all, analyze your source. Is it credible? Do they appear to have the reputation to give that advice? And then corroborate the evidence with other evidence you found elsewhere and draw your own conclusion, because, you know, we have a brain to use it and think and draw our own conclusions. That's all. Also, if you don't know how to interpret someone's success in book sales, I have a video, an entire video on Amazon sales ranks, on the Amazon best-selling rank, and what it means or what it doesn't mean. And I will link that in the info bar and in the description down below. And if you haven't watched it, please do so. I worked a lot on it, and I hope it's helpful. Next up, misconception that bothers me a lot is that self-publishing, for the most part, happens for the wrong reason. It's because people were rejected when they tried to trad pub, and then they lost whatever patience they had and they just wanted to get it done easily. And while that's true in some cases, for the most part what I found is that people have made a conscious decision after a lot of research to go independent. And there are reasons for that. First of all, the control you have over the entire project, the higher royalties you get, because you kind of keep them all, and the fact that you can create your own schedule for publishing. Because in most cases, traditionally published authors don't publish less often because they can't do it more often. It's because it takes a lot of time from the moment their book is accepted until it's published. So if I'm done writing a book, I'm going to self-edit, I'm going to send it to my editor, go through a few rounds with them, then proofread, then format, then pretty much get it ready to publish. I just have to schedule it as I want to. I do not have to wait to fit this huge schedule of hundreds of books being released by the same publisher. I just don't have to. I do not have to abide by the dates they prefer to publish to make certain lists for sales. It doesn't concern me. It happens, and these people kind of know why they're doing that. In my case, it's because I'm a bit of a control freak, and I prefer doing things my own way, because I can do my own promotions, I can do special things for my readers, I can release faster. It's just a choice, and plus I'm really into watching all my reports everywhere a few times a day. And let me tell you, spending a year with no access to data about when and what my book sold oh my god, that drove me insane. So I agree, it's a lot of work, and people sometimes think self-publishing is the easier route. I don't think it is. I think it's just a different kind of work. I think that all the time traditionally published authors invest into finding an agent, then going through submissions, then going through a lot of things with their traditionally published book. Self-published authors invest that into managing the entire project, doing more marketing on their own, and pretty much thinking of their career in terms of business, the business of selling books and the business of being an author. It's not less work, it's just a different kind of work. And again, if you're traditionally published, doesn't mean you work less or that you have it easier. It just means you do a different kind of work. Sure, you worry less about finding your own editor or finding your own cover designer or finding a formatter if you don't know how to format. But at the same time, you have less of a say in what goes for a cover, for an editor, for formatting. So, you know, it's give and take. It's always a lot of work, regardless which route you take. But I think those who self-publish without knowing what they're doing find out really fast that that's not the way to go. So there you have it. Next misconception, we're at number 6, and this is going to be long. Oh god. The next misconception, and this I've seen, is you can have a release day all to yourself. I've seen people talking about how you shouldn't set your release day on the same day as another author on AuthorTube, which is not always a possibility, even if you're self-published, because you depend on when your cover designer can do stuff, when your editor can do stuff, how fast you can get the book up everywhere, what other releases you have, what other things are going on in your life. And let me break this to you. You might not have a release on the same day as a different AuthorTuber, but there will be a few hundred books other than yours released on the exact same day. I've seen that happening, and yes, if that happens, people usually cross-promote, but sometimes you just don't see, because the truth about AuthorTube is that as small as it is, there are very separate groups. I've seen that happening a lot. I don't run in the same circles as other people, or I did, but then they chose to go a different way and we hardly ever interact now. It happens, and I might not be aware of their book, they might not be aware of mine. I'm not going to go to them and say, hey, don't publish on that day, because it's my book. First of all, I don't write in the same genre as most people. I forgot to say this in the beginning. I don't really do the YA or YA fantasy bit. I mostly write adult everything. So yeah, that's how I see it. Forget about having your own private release day. Never gonna happen. Lots of books released on the same day as yours, most of them traditionally published, others from best-selling authors, like #1 best-selling authors. So that's just it. You have to roll with it. Focus on your own strategy, focus on your own stuff, and try to do your best. And if you find out someone else is releasing on the same day, reach out. Maybe you can do cross promo, or if you're not comfortable reaching out because you think they're bigger and they won't reply or something like that, that's fine. You can just share their book release. It's fine. You don't have to just get something in return to do something nice. So that's it. Next misconception. Reviews are not for authors. Wrong. Goodreads is not for authors. I don't recommend anyone go there unless you want to get crippling depression. Don't go there, because it's a very negative space. I feel like Goodreads users kind of reward negative reviews, so they don't help. But your reviews matter. They are for you. Their number, the general consensus, everything matters, because these are your readers. And it boggles the mind that I hear this most from self-published authors. Dude, you have no filter between you and your customers. You go direct to them. That's why you choose to be an indie author and to self-publish, so that you can reach your audience directly. Feedback from your audience is important. Are there shittier reviews out there? Yes. Is it sometimes a case of people not being able to read a freaking book or a blurb or a freaking huge warning? Yes, but it still matters. Because see, when they look at your book, like when they look at it on Amazon, people just see a title and the cover most times. And if that cover communicates a different genre, they might buy it without reading the blurb, and then they get disappointed. It happens, and you need to know that, because you can prevent that from happening with more genre appropriate covers, for example. There are a lot of things you can do. So if you don't want to read all reader feedback, that's great. Like I said, don't go to Goodreads, where I have a lot more reviews on Goodreads than anywhere else. But I will check reviews on Amazon or on Kobo or on not on Publish Drive, on Google Books, where I go through Publish Drive. Because these are people who paid for those books, and I want to know what their opinion is. It's my way of analyzing my readers. I don't understand why I wouldn't do that. It's the same with people who subscribe to my newsletter. If they reply and they have feedback, I'm going to read that. That's for me. Their reviews and their thoughts are definitely for me, and they matter just as much when you're traditionally published, but even more when you're self-published, because that's why you self-publish. To have a relationship with your readers without any other interference. So how can reviews not be for you? Anyway, that's just my opinion. If you really believe you shouldn't ever read reviews and you shouldn't care, then that's fine. It's just an opinion. Take it as it is. Next up, number 8. You need to invest a lot in your writing career. Yes and no. There's this marketing philosophy that you can have something that's cheap, fast, and high quality. But of these 3, you can only choose 2. So you can have it fast and high quality. You can have it fast and cheap, but then it won't be high quality. You can have it high quality and cheap, but it will take a lot of time. And that's how you plan. Sure, you will have to invest a lot of time in your writing career, no matter what. No matter what. If you want to have a career, if it's just a hobby, this doesn't matter. And sometimes when you have money to invest, it helps. I've seen people who have money to invest in a really good Amazon ad campaign, and that yields a lot of sales and a lot of readers finding them fast, and they have a great first book that debuts successfully, which is great. But if you don't have that, it's not the end of the world. You can do other things to slowly build your sales. You can publish more and do rapid releases, or you can join anthologies, because those help you connect with other readers who otherwise wouldn't find you as fast. Or try to go with Kindle Unlimited for at least 1 book, so people can get to try you out without investing a lot of money. There are solutions for absolutely everything. I've seen, like, I'm going to say this, and if I get crap for it, so be it. I've seen a lot of people invest a lot of money in things they should never invest that much in. I've seen people pay for marketing courses where I could recommend like 2 books that would do the same for them and cost a fraction of the price. I've seen them go for courses and coaching sessions with people who don't have the clout to sell them, when I've seen like the Mark Dawson Self-Publishing 101 formula, which I think is great. I never got the course because when I discovered it, I was already way too high in my self-publishing career to get the benefit that this brought. But you know, this guy sells books for about 40 to 80k per month on Amazon alone, and he has some white titles. You can trust that guy when he says he knows how to sell books if you want to invest in a course. But otherwise, there are books on Facebook marketing and Facebook ads specifically. There are books on Amazon ads specifically. There's a free course on Kindlepreneur on how to get your ads to perform better on Amazon. There are a lot of resources to search for keywords and find categories. And if you want to know how to market your book, there are great books on that. And they cover everything from writing and then marketing to marketing first and then writing, which is the right to market conception. You can mix and match, and sometimes the investment you're making shouldn't be that high. Sometimes you can go low budget and still get quality stuff if you know where to look and how to invest. There are barters. If you can design great covers, you can find another indie who does great edits and you can barter and you get services exchanged, so you get stuff practically for free. It costs you time and expertise, but it doesn't cost you money. So I'd say whenever you're trying to self-publish, maybe talk to someone who's had a lot of success publishing a lot of books, and don't go with just one person. Go with several, get ideas from everyone, and then decide where to freaking invest. Because there are groups dedicated to just that, increasing and boosting your sales and being better at marketing, and every resource out there is free. Of course, free resources will take a lot more time. Like I said earlier, if you want high quality and cheap stuff, it will take a lot of freaking time. Next up, and sort of my ninth misconception, there is a right way to do anything. There's a black and white thing in writing. And that's the biggest misconception of all. There is no black and white. There is no right way. It just does not exist. Never will. In any aspect of your life, there's some black and some white. It's minor, and everything in between is shades of gray. And you have to remember that. And with that, you should keep in mind that everyone has their own bias. If you haven't been on both sides of an issue, sometimes it's really difficult to understand both sides. It's complicated, especially if you don't know anyone who's experienced the other side. Like, I've seen a lot of people talking about the stress people put on writers to write every day, write a lot, be super productive, which, yes, it happens, but in the big world out there, I've seen a lot more shaming happening because you do write more. You do write every day. You do write faster. There's a lot of content on that everywhere that implies that if you write fast or you're a prolific writer, everything you write is shit. This only happens in the writing community, of course, because in other arts, you're kind of praised if you hone your skill every day. It's okay. You can do that there. You can spend your entire day drawing, like doing exercises and working on pieces and producing a lot as an artist, but God forbid you do that as an author. God forbid you say you spend 3-4 hours a day writing and then another 2 hours a day reading, which helps you, and then 2 hours marketing and then editing and just amassing information and doing that repeatedly every day, because then that's wrong. It's not wrong, especially if you choose a career. And now I'm going to go into some extra thoughts that are not exactly misconceptions, but I think we need to remember to make these differences. Because we talked about speed and writing and how much you invest, there's a huge difference between being a hobbyist, someone who just writes for pleasure, an aspiring writer who wants to build a career someday, but right now has other things to do, a part-time writer who will never go full-time with this because they have other things they enjoy doing, and the full-time author who sees writing as their main career. There will always be a huge difference, and you have to consider what a person who's giving you advice is doing with their writing career. If they are full-time writers, remember that's the perspective of someone who does that every day as a career. And you can decide if that applies to you or not. Of course there's pressure, but it's mostly the pressure we put on ourselves. I always say, write the way it works for you. Find the routines and rewards that encourage you. I, for example, function on shame and peer pressure. That's it. I declare impossible goals, like super high goals, and then struggle to achieve them. And you might think, Alina, but why do you do that to yourself? Why don't you set realistic goals? Because when I set realistic goals, I still don't reach them, because I'm going like, oh, I can do that. Why try really hard? So this works for me. It doesn't work for others, but this works for me. And there's nothing wrong with it at all. So this is how I see things. I hope this helps you. I hope it clears some things for everyone. And remember, a girl from Eastern Europe can do it. So if I can, I'm pretty sure you can, no matter what you choose. If you want to have fun with writing and write occasionally, do it. If you want to finish school, get a job, get financial security, and then invest more in your writing, then do it. That works. If you want to put every ounce of free time you want into your writing and get fast to the point where you're a full-time author, you can do that too. I've seen people who have full-time jobs, kids, family, and then write, and they can still do it. It just takes a little longer, it's fine. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask me anytime. I'm happy to help. I'm always here. If not, I'm on Facebook or on Instagram. And if you want to talk to someone else, or you need a group recommendation or anything, just reach out. People are super helpful. Oh, and this brings me to the bonus misconception, which I've found to be kind of troubling. I've heard people saying that the self-publishing world is super competitive because we put pressure on ourselves to write more, write faster, and whatever. Not really true. It's one of the most transparent communities I've seen. I've seen full, detailed reports just from Book Report with how books did, and the detailed marketing plan for it, and the entire strategy just published for an entire group of tens of thousands of people to see it. So it's not that bad. Just like traditional publishing is not that bad. There's a lot of room to grow. We can all do it. So just decide what you want. Be more skeptical about advice you get, and everything will be just fine. So thank you for watching. I will have 2 more videos in this series, one about good reasons to self-publish and one about things we can do to make the AuthorTube community better. I hope you stay tuned and watch those as well. And in the meantime, please subscribe. I'm hoping to get to 400 subscribers by the end of the year. It's a stretch, but I'm trying, because crazy goals, Alina. That's what I do. Like this video and share it if you think it can help anyone else. I'll see you in the comments for any other questions, and yeah, enjoy the rest of your day. Bye!